Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Watercolor Hour. Today we're going to be working on some abstract paintings. Go ahead and grab your kit and we'll get started. So I'm going to go over everything you have in your kit. Today we're using this watercolor paper from Strathmore. I'll try to fit this in here. Sorry, it's sideways. It's their Series 400. So usually we use cotton paper. This isn't cotton, but it should work well for what we're doing. You should have an assortment of watercolors. Let's see, you have your round brush, a detail brush, you have some white acrylic paint, and then you have this gold ink, which is by Winsor & Newton, and that's going to look really nice on top of the watercolors. So I'm going to start by swatching the colors. I didn't write down the names because there were a lot of paint colors this time, but it's the three basic, red, blue, and yellow, plus some extras just in case you don't feel like mixing. There's a really bright lemon yellow, red, ultramarine, which we use pretty regularly. This is a bright purplish pink. Sap green, which we also use a lot. An orange shade that I had. I don't use a lot of orange in the kits, but in case you like orange, I included an orange, a purple, and a Payne's Gray, which we do use a lot as well. So there are your colors. I'm going to go over some different techniques that you can use for your paintings. And if you've got something like a little palette or a plate, it'll be good to have that to mix your colors on. So we're going to start with wet on dry. So this is just your paint directly on the paper. Wet on wet can be done a few different ways. We've gone over this before, but if you get your paper wet, you can use the water to tone down the color. So just adding your paint directly to the water. You can also add different colors to it so that it blends. Or you can just drop the colors directly on top. And if the paper's still wet, it'll spread out. You can also do that just starting with your paint. So just start, instead of adding water first, just start directly with the paint. And then you can add different colors there or blend it at the bottom. As soon as you touch your wet brush to the area that's already wet, it'll start blending. There's another technique you can do called glazing. So I'm waiting for this to dry a little bit more. So basically you'll start with one color and then you'll come back with a different color on top of that. So I'm trying to figure out which color I should use. I'm probably going to use a blue. Let me see. Yeah, that's still kind of wet. This corner is dry, so I'll start over here. So with glazing, you just wait for the first color to dry, and then you come back on top with another color. So depending on how dark your first shade is, you may not see it too well, but I did a really light blue on top of this so I can still see the corner of the pink sticking out through here. If the pink were darker, I would see it a little bit better. So next you probably want to decide what you're going to do, which I think is even harder with these paintings than it is with something that's already decided and has an outline and some colors picked out. You'll need to decide what colors you want to use, if you want to add any embellishments like the ink or the acrylic paint, if you want to add any drawings on top of it. So I'm going to do a couple of different examples, and I do not draw, so I have a bunch of books here from the shelves, and if you look in the catalog for drawing or doodling or Zentangles, you can find a bunch of different books that go step by step for drawing, so these are really helpful. So I've got that one, botanical line drawing. There's a 10-step drawing flowers. I'm probably not going to use that one. It's too many steps for what I'm doing. This one, star branch spiral fan. Looks really good. Sort of abstract shapes. There's some shells in here. I have a Zentangle book as well. So these are just going to be really easy patterns that you can use to fill in space. And then I like this book a lot, Florals by Hand. So if you're looking for different kinds of flower drawings, these are a little more detailed, but this is a great book if you're getting started on drawing flowers. So I'm going to mix my colors a bit. I want a couple of different shades. So this paper, usually we use the cotton paper, and it absorbs the paint more. This one is, I don't know, cellulose or something, so the paint just kind of sits on top. So it feels different when you're painting. So I want some gray, so I've got my Payne's gray there. I think I want kind of a red, but I want to tone it down a little bit. So I've got some pink mixed in there, as well as a little bit of orange. Alright, so I've got a couple of colors mixed up, and now I'm going to start painting. And remember, these are just examples of what you can do. You feel free to do whatever you want. If you look on Pinterest, that's a good resource just for looking at examples. YouTube as well. So I'm thinking I may do some different floral shapes on this, or some leaves, so I'm just making sure to have some round shapes. I'm going to open up my gold. So the gold has some kind of sediment in it. If it sits around, it'll just kind of sink to the bottom, so you do need to mix it a bit. And you may want to also get a different cup of water for rinsing this, because it'll add this shimmer to your water, and then every time you pick up paint, it'll be kind of sparkly. Of course, if you like that, that's totally fine, but you may not want everything to be shimmery. Alright, so I'm going to wait for this to dry, and then I'm going to come back with the white paint And I'm also going to use a Sharpie marker that I found back here. So I think I have some extras of these, so I'm gonna go ahead and add those to your kit because they're a great way to just easily draw on top of watercolor paint because these are waterproof so the ink won't run. So this is mostly dried off, so I've got my book out and I'm gonna start working on a couple of flowers. So looks like a nice spot for one, so I'm just gonna start here by doing the center. And I'm just going to keep adding petals. And the gold is a little bit difficult to draw on top of, but you may have to go right on a piece of paper and come back to it. Now I'm just adding some details to some of the petals. And in this white space here, I'm just going to work on some leaves. And over here, I'm just going to draw a circle. And it's a rough circle. And I'm drawing the center of the flower. And for this one, I'm just going to do a bunch of lines coming out from the center all over. Let's see. At this point, I'm just seeing where I should fill in space. So over here, I'm just going to add some dots. different sizes. And over here, let's see. I'm just going to follow these lines here and just add some curves to fill in this space. So what you draw will depend on your preferences and also how the paint ends up looking. I didn't really start with any idea of what I wanted this to look like. And I'm just going to stop when I run out of white space right there. And over here. Just a couple of big leaves. Let's see. I think I want to do another flower. And I'm just going to make one here. It's kind of a loose shape. So the petals will just stack on top of each other. And up here, I think I'll do some more patterns. This time I'm just doing dashes. In kind of a swirl shape. And I'm just filling in this white space by this flower. Over here, I'm going to do another one of these flowers just because that's a good way to fill in space. And up here, let's see, I've got some gold spots. I'm going to, it's a little bit wet, add some spots in here. So it's on the gray, so you may not be able to see it, so it'll be really subtle. And I'm gonna just outline this section here. And I think I'm good with how it looks so far. You can fill it up as much as you want, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave this alone, and then I'm gonna work on one that's a little different where I'll use the white paint. And instead of drawing, it's mostly just gonna be paint and little patterns that are easy to do. So I've got another sheet of paper. You have 2 sheets of watercolor paper in your kit. I'm working off of about half for each painting, but you can use the whole one if you want. It's just a little bit easier for me to fit everything here if I'm using a smaller sheet of paper. So I've got all my inks and everything, and I've mixed a couple of shades of purple, but I'm probably going to mix more as I go along. So I'm going to start with some gold at the top, I think. I do have to mix it up a little bit. And it's not a straight line. Okay, so there's my gold. I'm going to set that aside for now. And I'm going to dry my brush off. And I've got this kind of purple mix. And I'm leaving space there. You don't have to, but I want the gold to stay separate from this area. And I forgot to mention, I did put painter's tape on this just so I can have an outline, but you don't have to do that. You could also use washi tape, just any tape that's not really sticky, because if it's too sticky, it will tear up the watercolor paper. So this is kind of a dark purple. If I end up using the white acrylic paint later on, it should show up pretty well on here. I'm going to leave another white space. And I've got kind of a light pink. I'm going to add some more of this dark pink here. And I'm going to mix some of the red and pink together. It's a little too red. So I blended with the last color a little bit. And now I've got just some of the pink on my brush, and it was a little bit too red, so I'm making it darker here on the bottom with just the pink. And I've still got this purple mixed here, so I'm going to use a light version of that. And I'm leaving just a little bit of space in between here. And I accidentally touched it to the pink that's here on top, but I actually liked how that looks, so I'm just going to continue doing it over here. I'm just dropping some pink in there just to see what would happen. I've got a little bit of pink and purple mixed together. Now I'm mixing the red and blue to see what kind of purple I get. I'm going to use my gold again. Just filling in this space here. Almost out of pink, but I just need to fill in this last little space down here. Okay, so now I've got this filled in. I can start adding details. So I'm going to go back to my gold paint and see what's dry. I'm just adding dots with the gold paint. Alright, so this is dry, and now I'm going to go ahead and peel this off and see what it looks like. I may or may not have a clean edge depending on how well I stuck this to the paper. not too bad. Right, so that is the second one I did. Here's the first one. I would love to see what you come up with. If you want to share it, please feel free to post it on Facebook or email me. Next month, I believe we will be doing watercolor, let's see, roses. We're going to do a rose next month. I was going to say whale, but that's in March. So we're going to do a rose next month, and just keep an eye on the calendar. It'll have all the information you need as far as whether it will be virtual or in person, because I can't say right now. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me.